Hey everybody, welcome back to History Student Reacts. Today we'll be watching Obscure Obsolete Inventions by Salmonella. This is a very on-brand video for him. Salmonella loves presenting these lists of strange facts, objects, shenanigans, or people throughout history, so this one makes a lot of sense to me. So, before we get into this one, I'd appreciate it if you guys would leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's jump right into this reaction.
Alright, after months upon months of unrelenting pressure by you psychopaths pretending to be my characters on Twitter, I finally got a merch store. Let this be a lesson, kids. With enough harassment, you can achieve anything. Anyway, go check it out, or don't, whatever.
Alrighty. Obscure, outdated inventions.
Hey kids, if I learned anything from my middle school career, it's that what may seem like a good idea initially will often be remembered only as a foolish mistake. Here's a few pieces of technology from yesteryear that have since fallen into total obscurity. So I've always believed that there's no point in having many small things when you can have one big thing. Why have many shrimp when you can have one lobster? Why drink many glasses of milk when you can eat one udder? Why have many cheese-its when you can have one cheese-them, patent pending? And why have many street lights when you can have one moonlight tower?
Whoa.
These guys were real popular back in the 1880s and 90s, often standing at over 150 feet tall and illuminating several blocks from a single point.
Wow, I've never actually heard of this, though I can sort of see how you'd come to this conclusion. You're like, alright, instead of all these little street lamps, why don't we just have one big tower? We can light up the whole neighborhood. It's like, alright, yeah, I guess I could get that. Though what if that one street tower goes out? What happens then?
Not very well, mind you. Matter of fact, they were so dim, we didn't even have the conscience to just call them light towers. Had to go and stick the moon on the front so people didn't get their hopes up. But thanks to our good old friend, the inverse square law, you still needed a fuck ton of light to pull this off. So they used incredibly harsh and UV-emitting arc lights instead of incandescent bulbs. All the light...
Jesus. Yeah, we could probably do these better today, honestly. I mean, we've got big floodlights that you use at nighttime sports games, but I imagine with the technology of that time, would have been incredibly difficult to make a light bright enough to actually be effective at that height.
of the moon and all the vision damage of the sun. Talk about a win-win. Sadly, these beasts have fallen by the wayside over the past century or so, except for in Austin, apparently, but they use friendlier mercury vapor lamps in them, so they only get half points. Now, anyone who's been around a baby long enough knows they always have a cloud of ghoulish stench hovering around them. Jeez Louise, somebody better air out that musty little muskrat before Grandma starts drooping again. You could stick him on the clothesline for a while, but knowing that little moron, I'm sure he'd find a way to hurt himself somehow. Introducing the baby cage. Finally, city dwellers all across the nation have a way of unleashing their postnatal funk on the unsuspecting passerby below.
Yeah, I've heard of this one before. I don't really know the context around it. I believe it was used in very urban places, very dense cities like New York City, to provide a little extra space for your baby to sleep or play or something. I believe it was mainly to give them that sort of extra place to sleep, though you can imagine, well, these could be a little dangerous.
These were in vogue for a while before falling out of style a bit of the way into the 20th century, because apparently society started deeming babies more valuable than air conditioners. I don't really get it personally, but this is also around the time we started putting lead in gasoline, so it's probably for the best we kept them inside all day. Matter of fact, it's my firm belief that without kids growing up breathing lead, there's no way pet rocks would have taken off in the 70s. Wow, alienating baby boomers. He's so brave and controversial. Now in the day-
Yeah, though, I mean, I think Gen X is more the lead pipe generation. They're the ones that got all their water through those delicious lead pipes, so they made sure their lead levels were very high.
It's between the Great War and the not as great but still pretty alright war. People were trying to find efficient means of detecting an incoming air attack. They climbed their nation's tallest mountains to seek the wisdom of their greatest elders, and the wise men said, big ears. So that's what they did. These giant discs were known as acoustic mirrors and were designed to focus incoming sound over a 5-meter diameter into a single point. They were reasonably effective as listening devices. A few of them in Britain were able to pick up the sound of a plane from all the way across the English Channel. Of course, radar came along soon after, rendering these things completely useless beyond looking brutalist as hell. For real, instant album cover material right here.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. If you saw one of those, it sort of looks like, you know, like a satellite or something, but just, you know, sitting on the ground made out of concrete. You'd be like, what the hell is this?
Ah, one of the Pep Boys is pulling a Spanish Inquisition on this poor wayward harlot.
Jesus.
Just kidding. Despite the fact that this looks so very, very much like a state-of-the-art instrument of torture, it's actually just a beauty micrometer. Think those shoe size measure things at Foot Locker, only instead of one primitive measurement, it records the entire topology of your face and skull at once. With this data, a trained cosmetologist would be able to pinpoint exactly what features of your head should be enhanced and reduced with makeup in order to achieve a maximum calculated attractiveness after you've paid for their services.
This is the kind of stupid thing, frankly, that you could still imagine today. Just now it would be done with cameras and computers or something like that.
Clearly this device must have been effective. After all, beauty is entirely objective. What, eye of the beholder? Check the name tag, buddy. Apparently, though, women didn't like being strapped into a birdcage and having their every minute flaw meticulously laid out in front of them. So this thing never really took off in the end. Next, we have the Humlauf. This was a device made during World War II designed to let infantry shoot around corners. It's like the Germans sat down and watched that part in Tom and Jerry where the conniving rat bends the gun barrel back at his adversary. They said, Mein Gott. They came in a variety.
They said, all right, this is how we're gonna win the war. I mean, you can look at Germany during the Second World War, and they were inventing some pretty goofy stuff. I mean, you know, their leadership at the time, the Nazi leadership, was, especially the sort of high ranks, often obsessed with these strange sort of sci-fi or sometimes occult ideas. You know, there's lots of examples of that, but there were a lot of technologies that either were not effective or were not realistic, that Hitler and his boys were like, oh yeah, we're gonna invest in this. It's like, okay, this is not really gonna make any difference, but go ahead, I guess.
Of angles between 30 and 90 degrees, and it even came with a little periscope so you could see what you were shooting at. But as we all come to find out when we reach adolescence, cartoons are the arbiters of deceit, because these things would invariably break within the first couple hundred shots or so. And even when they did work, the rounds would fucking explode from the massive acceleration, turning a deadly bullet into an ineffectual spray of shrapnel. These were so ineffective that only the 30-degree model ever saw significant production beyond prototypes, and even that was very limited. Say, you ever look at regular mouse traps and go, not enough property damage? Well, check this out. Patented in 1882, it's the revolver mousetrap. Brought to you by the makers of the snail trebuchet and the cockroach claymore.
Great. So now, not only can you trap or kill the mouse, you can also make a wonderful hole in your floor. Fantastic.
Thanks to the marvels of the modern era, all those tiresome hours of intense varmint slang can be outsourced to one little gadget on the floor of your kid's playroom. Now when you hear a gunshot in the middle of...
Right, that as well. This is how you Americanize a mousetrap. Not only are you damaging your property, but, you know, the regular mousetrap, if your stupid little child sticks their hand in, well, you know, ouch, but they'll be fine. If they trip this one, they will be shot.
The night, you can rest easy knowing that, one way or the other, there's one less pest for you to deal with in the morning. Boom. 1850. Steam locomotives are all the rage. You're in the transport business, but all you can afford is a couple dumb horses. Sure, they move things from point A to point B almost as well at a fraction of the cost, but your cool rail-riding friends called you a whack-ass and it really hurt your feelers. Well, have we got the invention for you? The Impulsoria uses an ingenious system of treadmills to turn that horse to be beckoned into a force to be reckoned.
You know, we've had a lot of weird inventions throughout history. I do really think it kicked off with the steam engine, you know, particularly in the sort of mid-19th century. You see a lot of these weird inventions and patents filed where basically people are getting more wide access to the steam engine. And they're like, all right, what can I do? And I don't know if this is actually, you know, steam powered, but just this era of sort of growing industrialism, people are taking these technologies and saying, all right, where can I apply these? And they try to apply them just about everywhere. And so you get a lot of very weird, elaborate, unnecessary inventions from this time period.
Sure, it's expensive as hell to make and limits your services entirely to railroads, but just look at it. Instant Pussymobile. Slap some rims and a spoiler on that, you're laughing. This machine is recorded at having a...
This is trying to find sort of the middle ground between a horse and a train, which is just not something that was necessary. You know, with the proliferation of more and more railroads, yeah, trains could do the job just fine, and, you know, you could still take a horse and cart if you were not going by railroad.
A maximum output of 2 to 4 horsepower, which sounds about right, and it didn't see much use outside a couple exhibitions. Now, if there's one hobby that people in the past enjoyed, it's smoking. Boy, did they like smoking. And with every great wholesome...
Oh, look at that. We've not only images of adults smoking, but also plenty of children. Yeah, very just a normal fun activity for people to do up until relatively recently.
Activity comes a million novelty items to go along with it. Everyone's seen the long cigarette, but how about the really long cigarette?
Holy.
Want to smoke in the rain? Here you go. Going snorkeling? Hey, you know what's more important than oxygen? Nicotine. But hey, want to know the
Jesus.
only thing better than a cigarette? 2 cigarettes. You know what? Fuck it. Have the whole pack. You earned it. Of course, if you're trying to cut back, you can always share it with a friend. Aw, how heartburning. But you know what's even more
See, these are like challenge videos today. Not that people are doing a lot of challenge videos smoking cigarettes, but I smoked fucking 50 cigarettes. That was daily life back in the 1950s. People were, popping them in one after the other, or getting, popping them into their inventions, smoking 20 at once. It was the way of life.
fun than addiction. High quality documentaries. That's why you should check out Curiosity Stream. From the face behind the discovery.
Alright, there we go. So we have Salmonella's
Till next time, I'm Nella.
sponsor right there. Like I said, I don't know if any of these links still work these days. These videos are quite old, but another good one from Salmonella. Like I said earlier, very in brand for him. A list of shenanigans, strange objects, inventions throughout history. Makes a lot of sense. We had some pretty interesting ones today. And we'll see. I feel like a lot of our, obscure inventions or strange inventions of the modern era right now, they're always involving computers and all that sort of thing. It's not very tactile. The great thing with a lot of these obscure, obsolete inventions is that it's something that you can see, you can touch, you can interact with, you can see how wacky they are, rather than an algorithm running in the background. It's just not quite as fun. Now, I'm not saying anything about effectiveness. I'm just talking about the wacky shenanigans you could get up to. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this one, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. With that, hope you guys are having a great day today, and I'll see you all again next time. Goodbye.